There are many terrifying incidents people wish they could forget, yet they keep resurfacing because of how chilling they are. Each one feels like a nightmare that bled into reality. Tonight, we're diving into the darkest of them all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It might just be your shield against what's coming next. In May 2025, a strange case from the Philippines shocked parents everywhere. A 7-year-old boy became obsessed with an innocent-looking cartoon called 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 𝗂𝗃. At first, it seemed harmless, but then every night at exactly 3 a.m. he claimed the character appeared at his window. Soon after, he was found crying, smashing his toys, and whispering the same name over and over. Let's watch it.
Explaining Incidents, Part 1.
𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Incident.
But before we start, can you follow me on Roblox? Thank you. My Cloudies. Back in May 3rd, 2005, this year, a kid that is 7 years old was addicted in this brain rot called 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 in the Philippines. His parents thought it was just a cartoon, until it all turned upside down and became a horror story. Because his parents said, every midnight on 12 o'clock and 3:17 am in the night, his son would always say 𝗀cie 𝗹𝗹 woke him up at that hour, and every day on 3:45 am, he would always stare at the window saying, there was a man standing that looked like 𝗀cie 𝗹𝗹. And one day his parents saw that he was crying and saying, 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 𝗃 while smashing his toys on the walls. That's why his parents limited his screen time for 2-1/2 hours. So kids, don't be brain-rotted, or you'll also have this kind of story.
Imagine being a parent and seeing your child wake up every night at the same exact hour, staring at the window as if someone was really there. That's not just creepy, it's the kind of thing that makes you question what's real and what's not. And if you think this story was bizarre, wait until you hear the next one, Asteral Incident, which dives even deeper into unexplained nightmares. The night began with flashing lights, roaring music, and thousands of voices singing in unison. It should have been a celebration, but within minutes, joy twisted into terror. The crowd pressed tighter and tighter until breathing became impossible, and screams of excitement turned into cries for help. Among the victims was a child, making this tragedy even more devastating to remember. This is the moment.
Explaining Incidents, Part 8.
Asteral Incident.
This incident happened in November 5th, 2021, which was a long time ago. Travis Scott was the one who made this concert in Houston, Texas. It was supposed to be a very good concert until a fatal incident happened. 10 people died, 3 of suffocating. And the worst thing is that there was a 9-year-old kid who was in the concert. So the concert could only hold 50,000 people, but 20,000 people broke inside the concert, and more people went into the left side instead of the right side, making people in the left side suffocating. Because of this, a child was squeezed to the 3th, even though people yelled Travis to stop. The concert he kept going. To whoever was in this concert, I hope you feel good again, and the people who 3D, rest in peace. That's all, and stay safe.
It's chilling to think about how quickly excitement can turn into panic. One moment, people are singing along, the next they're fighting for air. The most heartbreaking part is knowing a child was caught in the middle of it all. It shows how fragile safety can be when chaos takes over. Stories like this remind us how entertainment can sometimes hide unexpected horrors. And if you think this was shocking, just wait until you hear the next case. The Headroom Incident, a story that takes things to an even darker level. A Sunday night sportscast in Chicago was rolling along when the screen suddenly snapped to black. It came back not to football highlights, but to a figure in a rubber Max Headroom-style mask and sunglasses, babbling over blaring, distorted audio. Minutes later, a second takeover hit stranger, harder to understand, and engineers still couldn't trace who did it. To this day, no one's been caught. Now comes the proof.
The Max Headroom Incident.
In November of 1987, something very strange happened to 2 Chicago TV stations. Chicago sportscaster Dane Roan was covering the highlights of the Bears' recent victory on November 22nd. Everything was normal until something very odd happened. The screen went pitch black for a couple of seconds. Then out of nowhere, an unidentified man dressed in a rubber mask with sunglasses appeared. The audio in the background was distorted and was very loud according to viewers. The screen then went black again for a few seconds and everything went back to normal. Everyone was creeped out about the incident and thought it was over. But there was another hijack on the way. But this time, it was even weirder. The man was seen to be speaking, but was barely understandable. Technicians tried to trace this unidentified man, but he was never caught.
What gets under your skin isn't gore or jump scares, it's the feeling that someone reached through the airwaves and took control. The mask, the noise, the nonsense. It feels like a prank until you remember millions were watching live. It turns a normal living room into a stage for something you were never meant to see. Think that was wild? The next case, the Max and Ruby Hijack incident, shows just how far a signal can go when the wrong hands grab it. Back in 2004, fans of the children's cartoon Max and Ruby stumbled onto something that didn't belong on television. At first, the episode played normally, cheerful music, bright colors, everything you'd expect from a harmless kids show. But then, Ruby called out for her brother Max. And what followed was pure nightmare fuel. A frozen screen, a sudden blackout, and then Max appeared with no face. Here we go.
The Max and Ruby hijack. In March of 2004, the strangest hijack happens in Max and Ruby. In the first episode, everything seemed to be going completely normal until Ruby calls out for her brother Max. After she calls out for her brother, the screen completely freezes, then cuts to black for a second. After the black screen, it cuts to Max with no face with a strange noise. A few seconds later, Max receives 2 dark circles on his face, then cuts to both Max and Ruby next to a grave with the screen being red. After the image where it repeatedly says, "Rest in peace, brother," it cuts to a message saying, "Death is our only release."
Max?
After the message, everything goes back to normal.
Seeing Max with no face turned a childhood cartoon into a living nightmare. It wasn't a glitch, it felt intentional, like someone wanted to scar the viewers. But that's nothing compared to what comes next. Mere concert incident will make you rethink what disturbing really means. It was supposed to be just another concert, full of lights, cheers, and excitement. Fans waved their glow sticks, singing along without a worry in the world. But in a split second, the stage turned into a nightmare when a massive screen came crashing down. What began as celebration ended as one of the most haunting live show tragedies ever caught on camera. Let's roll it.
Explaining Incidents, Part 5.
Mirror concert incident.
Before I start, please follow me on Roblox. It is okay if you don't want to. In July 28, 2022, a concert named Mirror was performing in Hong Kong. It was going well and perfectly good until one of the backup dancers named 𝗀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗃 was paralyzed. So this is what happened. While they were performing a huge 4-inch TV hit, 𝗀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗃 and one other member, 𝗀𝘂𝗀𝗃 was pinned to the ground, just under the screen. He suffered serious neck injuries. He was in the hospital for 6 months after the incident happened. The bad thing is that was their first ever concert. Both of them is recovering now and is feeling great. The video is available at YouTube, so watch it on your own risk, but be careful because it can affect your stomach. That's all, and stay safe.
The screams, the silence after, and the disbelief on every face, it felt unreal. Even now, many say they can't erase the sound of that crash from their minds, just when it feels like the story can't get any worse. Another shadow emerges. What unfolded in Nia Airport Accident is far more disturbing than you'd ever expect. Airports are usually filled with excitement and happy reunions, but one ordinary day at NAIA Terminal 1 turned into horror. A mother and her little girl were waiting to greet the father when suddenly a black SUV crashed through the entrance. In seconds, the joyful moment was replaced with chaos and the young girl tragically lost her life. Don't look away now.
Let's discuss about
Nia Airport Terminal 1 accident.
Follow me on Roblox if you want. In May 4th, 2025, an accident occurred, which it quickly came into all social medias. It was just a mom and a daughter coming into the Nia Airport to come and see the daughter's dad, until a black SUV suddenly crashed into the entrance-exit door of the airport. 4 people was injured, and 2 people. And this is the worst one. There was a 4-year-old little girl, and the black SUV crashed into her. The kid said, "Dad, ouch!" Unfortunately, she died, which is a sad message to the parents. The little girl's name is 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗲𝗏. She was just 4 years old, enjoying her life. The dad and mom had so much pain in their hearts, and the dad said, "That's my daughter." And the mom was crying while holding her daughter's tablet. But if the airport had a strong bollard, this wouldn't happened. The driver was shocked too. Rest in peace, 𝗀𝗀𝗯𝗏. I feel so bad about her parents. That's all, and stay safe.
The father's cry tore through the airport louder than the chaos itself, a sound no one present will ever forget. Seeing the mother clutching her daughter's tablet, as if it were the last piece of her child left behind, makes the entire moment feel unbearably haunting. As devastating as this is, it's not the only tragedy that shook people to their core. Next, we'll look at the 𝗀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗏 incident. A simple Roblox troll session suddenly spiraled into something terrifying. While a YouTuber was joking around in-game, a loud crash shook his real house at the exact moment a player named 𝗀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗏 appeared. The timing was too eerie to ignore, and it left the entire community wondering if this was more than just coincidence. See what's been hidden.
Let's buy.
It's wild how something as harmless as trolling could suddenly feel spine-chilling. The mix of real-world noise and in-game timing gave this clip an edge that's hard to shake off. Finally, if the 𝗀𝘂𝗯𝗀𝗏 incident already gave you chills, just wait until you see rock climbing incident. It's a story that pushes the creepiness even further. A group of 7 friends set out on what was supposed to be a joyful mountain climbing trip. Among them was a young couple, deeply in love, excited for the adventure ahead. But as they reached halfway to the summit, the weather turned brutally dangerous. What followed would shatter their bond forever. Let's face the truth.
7 close friends went on a mountain climbing trip together. Among them was a couple who had a very loving relationship. As they reached halfway up the mountain, preparing to summit, the weather suddenly turned extremely harsh. 6 of them insisted on continuing the climb. But the girlfriend, physically exhausted, decided to stay in the tent and wait. 3 days passed, none of the 6 returned. The girl started to worry, but convinced herself it was probably due to the bad weather. Then, on the 7th day, the 6 finally came back, but her boyfriend was missing. They told her, "On the very first day we reached the summit, your boyfriend unfortunately had an accident and didn't make it. We rushed back because we didn't want you to worry. Let's go down the mountain together now." That night, the 6 of them sat in a circle around her, making sure she could rest in the middle. But close to midnight, something terrifying happened. Her boyfriend suddenly burst into the tent covered in blood. He grabbed her and tried to drag her out. The girl screamed in fear, struggling to break free. But her boyfriend shouted in desperation, "I died the day we reached the summit." They all did. What came back to you? They're not human. Come with me now! What would you do if you were in her place?
Watching this play out feels heavy. The mix of love, fear, and desperation hits harder than words can capture. It's the kind of story that makes you imagine yourself in their place, and it's haunting. You made it through the nightmare, but the question is, will you make it through the next one? Hit that like and sub button to stay inside the safe zone. And drop something totally pointless in the comments, like your favorite emoji spam. It confuses the darkness, trust me.